I got 21 species of herps. I checked the last few days, 2015 they had 10. That was number 21. And he showed up during the tabulation. So it's like they were announcing it, and it's like they put a 20 there, and I'm like, 21! Yeah, that's a corn snake. So a very common snake in the pet trade, but often you see them with like red eyes and they're like yellow, yeah, because these are bred and bred and bred. A corn snake in the wild, yeah, a wild one, looks like that. They're called corn snakes because their underside, their ventrals look like maize. It's patched black, white, and yellow. Okay, so the rest of living in Texas was just herping, going out, catching stuff, practicing. Every true herper would have had their first snake hook made out of a paint roller. So that's a paint roller and a golf club. So I went to the thrift store, bought a golf club, sawed the head off, bought some epoxy, shoved the paint roller in there, epoxied it, and that was my first snake hook. That's a green tree frog, that's a gray tree frog. Okay, so some other things in Texas. This is your Texas coral snake. These guys are your only like native elapid. So that's the family that your cobras, coral snakes, crates belong to. There are some others, but this is the main elapid that you get. Very striking in color, and there are rhymes in the US to remember that this guy is the one that's dangerous versus the mimics. Anyone knows that rhyme?
Yeah.
Okay, the rhyme goes, red meets yellow, kill a fellow. Red meets black, friend of Jack. So you notice that the red never touches the black on this snake. But in its counterparts, the milk snake, yeah, you'll see that the red touches the black. This rule does not apply for Central and South America. So do not use it there. There are coral snakes there that are just red and black. So it only works for like North America, like the United States. This is the tree-toed box turtle. This turtle, it was completely charred. Its carapace, it was quite burned. This forest had burned before. So this is one of the survivors that we found in this forest. These guys hinge twice on their plastron. You guys are familiar with a Malayan box turtle? Malayan box turtle has one hinge. These guys have two. They close up. Yeah. A hinge is basically their bottom shell being able to hinge up and close. So they can pull their head and legs in and just completely close. If you play Mario, you step on the turtle, it goes like that. Yeah, it's like that. They can do that. Okay, and then alligators, you go into the swampland, you go into the bayous, alligators there are common. Alligators are really quite docile. They're not like crocodiles, you can get a lot closer to them. This picture was taken from this range, like not zoomed. Yeah, that's not threat, that's just him basking. Yeah. You go to this park, there's a lot of birders there, there's a lot of cranes and stuff. You go to this park, the birders do not walk the trails, they stay by the pond, because there are alligators everywhere. The first time you see an alligator, you're going to be like, whoa, and you're going to give it wide berth. Then you're going to see the second one and third one, and after that, you're practically stepping over them once you get more confident. So yeah, I wouldn't do that with something this big. This was quite a big one. Keep your distance from the big ones. And don't mess with the small ones either, because mom might be not very far away. Okay, so this was also during that BioBlitz, trying to catch this soft shell turtle for the survey. So they are on the bottom of the streams. You can really just feel them up with your toes and then grab one. Okay, so the rest of my time in Texas was with these organizations. I was part of my school's zoological society. I joined it as a junior, and I made president by senior year. And so I worked with this organization to do a lot of things. I designed this logo that I have a shirt that's about 10 years old now that I still wear. It's got holes everywhere. That's actually my favorite of the 4 groups of vertebrates that are represented there. So of the fish, my favorite are sharks. Of the reptiles, my favorite are snakes. Of the birds, my favorite are the corvids, your crows, ravens. And of the mammals, my favorite are wolves. I volunteered at this Brazos Valley Museum. It was a natural history museum. They actually had a T-Rex skull there, even though it's a small museum. They had a live collection as well, and there are these girls that come in to volunteer. They had like rat snakes, king snakes, but nobody dared clean the tank of the bull snake. So the bull snake is a non-venomous, it's a colubrid, but it's a feisty snake. So yeah, he hisses loudly and he bites. So I go there every Friday just to catch a snake and hold him while they clean the tank. It was fun. Okay, rest of my time in the US, in Texas, was lots and lots of field helping. I learned how to ride a horse, that's Missy. And lots of beer, because that's college. So we helped and drank ourselves to graduation. And 2010, I graduated, and that's my family over there. Okay, and then the big decision. You guys know the US college system, right? Well, if you don't, when you graduate, you get to get a college ring. This flashy gold ring that will have the year of your graduation. That's the guys' one, that's the girls' one. They are about $1,000 for that ring. The price of gold fluctuates, so I still remember when I graduated, that ring, the guy's ring, was $1,068. So I had the choice to get that, spend $1,000 and get that, or buy one of those. We all know what I did, because I don't wear that ring now, so I don't have that. I bought my first DSLR camera. I bought the T2i, which locally is known as the 550D. Okay, and then I started to work after I graduated, and I wanted to work in different facets again with working with animals. So I wanted to get some husbandry experience. So I worked in the zoo, and in the zoo I got to meet some really cool mammals. That's a Bengal tiger. That's a serval. Anybody know this one? Tamandua, yeah. It's a Central American anteater. It's got very sharp claws, almost like that Pokemon. Sentry? Yeah. And these are black-faced quadrumandis. These guys, in every zoo, there are animals that will really love you, and some animals that hate you. So I will not talk about those stories. But in that zoo, there was one binturong and two ring-tailed lemurs that didn't like me. Everybody else loved me. Okay? So these quadrumandis, my other keeper could not go in with them. They would attack her. But I go in with them, they come and pull apart my laces, climb on my legs. So yeah, it's really about, sometimes it's a gender thing, sometimes it's just about a scent thing. Animals take to some people and don't take. The two animals that I mentioned did not like me, have hurt me. So we'll talk about that another time as well. Okay. She was my favorite animal in that zoo. And this is a striped hyena. I didn't go in with her. Yeah, I would have loved to, but no, you gotta keep your respect and distance with the large animals. I did take lots and lots of photos of her. In the wild, they're usually seen with all their fur and their back raised. Yeah, that's how they're usually seen. They can be found in the forest, in the grasslands in India. I've tried looking for it a few times, haven't seen one. Okay, and then I took this job through a phone interview for the US Forest Service. It was a study done in Tennessee, in southern Tennessee, about an hour south of Nashville. And the study was for oak regeneration silviculture. So it was really a tree study, where they were studying how oak regenerates after different treatments. So they used chemicals, they cut and slashed, they burned, and they had one control site. 4 sites across 5 areas on the side of a mountain, so 20 sites in total, and that was littered with 80 trap locations of mine. Each trap location was one drift fence with 2 pitfalls and 2 funnel traps. So every day I had 80 of these to check. So it was really fun work. My day would start at about 5:30 in the morning. We're out driving by 5:45. We'll get there by about 7, and then we offload the ATV from the back, and then we ride up the mountain. We work in 2-man teams. I worked with another guy who did mammals. There were 2 other guys that did birds. We all lived in the same trailer together. The trailer had 4 bunk beds and 1 master room. So we had a rotation to see who got the master room. Because it was big, it's like a queen size bed in a trailer versus like a bunk bed. Okay, so that was my job. Checking the traps is basically just walking up to these pitfall traps, looking in them, picking out what's in there, and then collecting data from it, measuring it, writing down the species and all that. The funnel traps, that get your snakes. So in that we got our larger snakes and things like that. Some days I can walk through the entire thing and get nothing in my funnel trap. Some days either the Fowler's toads or the American toads spawn and you get 1 pitfall with like 30 toadlets in it. And you have to measure each one. Although you know they're all about 10 mm, but still you got to measure each one. Yeah. So those were long days. Starting so early, my day would usually end by 11 or 12. I'll be back in my trailer by 2 o'clock. On some days when it goes really long, I'm back at about 4 or 5 o'clock. Those are really, really tiring. It's lots of hiking through the forest in Tennessee. Okay. So that's also the first time I was exposed to, really exposed to salamanders. In Texas, I've had salamanders before, but Texas is a lot drier. As you start going east, you start getting more moist areas, and you get salamanders. These are northern slimy salamanders. I think the next photo shows them. Yeah. They're called slimy salamanders because they secrete this slime. So when I picked these 4 out, I braced, they were slipping out, so I braced it against my shirt like that, so that I could bag them properly. That stain is still on that shirt. It never washed off. It's a very thick slime. It's not slimy anymore, it's just dry and crusty.
Like starch already.
Sorry?
It becomes like starch.
Yeah, it's almost like starch, yeah, it's just there. Yeah. So slimy salamanders are really quite cool. These guys I would get once in a while. This is the cave salamander. Also, I think there's another name like the something spotted salamander. Cave salamander is not a very widely used name because you have the real cave salamanders that live in the caves. So common names are not the best way to go. This is a strikingly beautiful salamander. I mean, it's long and slender, such delicate, their hands are incredibly delicate. And one of the methods of marking reptiles is toe clipping. I know it sounds very harsh, but salamanders are never toe clipped because by the next season, they just grow their toe back. So they don't give you any data that way. So this is one of the prettier salamanders that we had. This was just a baby, but this was adorable. This is Opacum, the marble salamander. Once they get larger, their markings on their back, the white markings get bolder and deeper. When they're young, it's quite translucent like this, but look at that face. Yeah. Okay. So, and then in my trap one day I had a hognose. Hognoses are snakes that are popular for a few reasons. They completely flatten their head like this. They will even flip over and play dead. They will open their mouth and stick their tongue out and even emit this foul-smelling musk. They will do everything to make you think that they're dead. Yeah, but this one didn't really try that with me. But he did flatten his head and posed next to a pine cone. Okay. So then also in my traps we get copperheads. Copperheads are really quite common. There's a few species that range and they're all split up by subspecies, few subspecies in the US. So this is the second one of your ground vipers that you get in the US. And then you also get, in Tennessee, timber rattlesnakes. So timbers go by another name, they're also called canebrake rattlesnakes. These are very beautiful, striking, keeled scale rattlesnakes that don't fall in your pitfall traps, but you fall in your funnel trap. Funnel trap's just a box with this little lid that you lift So each time you lift the lid, it's like a potluck. It could be anything in there. So you usually get the garter snakes, water snakes. We got water snake once actually. Lots of garter snakes. You get salamanders in there. You get different things. But the day I opened this, and he didn't buzz until I opened it. It's like opening is like that sound is pretty amazing. Okay, so this was that same guy. Look at that markings. It's like really really pretty. Over there in the US, a lot of people have ranches, and these things go into people's ranches, eat rats and things like that. Okay. Then from Tennessee, I took trips because it was really near other places. North Carolina is really, really special. It's one place that really every herper should go. It is the salamander capital of the world. I lived over here and I looked in stream systems all through Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, looking for one salamander. And I didn't find it. I went to North Carolina, and next to a waterfall where people were swimming, just downriver, you find them in about knee-deep water, and they're under the rocks. So you basically have to lift these big rocks, and they can swim off really fast, or they just sit there, depending on the individual. So in North Carolina, we found those. Then I'll talk about this guy. Kevin was I didn't put his name, sorry Kevin. This is Kevin Messenger. Kevin started his PhD when I was working in Alabama. I said Tennessee, Alabama. I really lived at the border. My fieldwork was in Tennessee, I lived in Alabama. Like every day we just drive across the border. It's just a geographical thing. But Kevin started as a PhD student studying herpetology there. So one evening, I was just watching a game show or something, and then one of the bird guys walks in and says, "Hey, there's a herp guy that moved in next door." I said, "Oh, really cool." So I jumped out, I went to talk to Kevin. I knocked the door, Kevin stepped out, and we started talking. "Oh, you herper?" "Yeah." We talked. We were at that same spot for like 2 hours. Because he had been to Central America, I have been in Southeast Asia, and we just started talking about all the reptiles. Then we started talking about music and bands and beer. And then it's like, "Hey man, you like beer? You like beer? Okay, wanna go to the pub?" Okay, and then we went to the pub, and then after that it's like, yeah, we just kept going on. This was a picture that we took. I took of him in Hong Kong. Yeah, this is Rhabdophis subminiatus, your redneck keelback. So these guys, you know, when people say, "Oh, snakes are poisonous," and they say, "No, they're wrong, they're venomous," these snakes are actually poisonous. So these are snakes that have a venomous bite, but can secrete a toxin from their nuchal gland, a gland behind their head. So that's something that when something eats it, or if you ingest that, it's poisonous. So these are snakes that are venomous and poisonous, hence the gloves. This is that salamander. These are hellbenders. Hellbenders are the third largest salamander in the world. The largest one is in China, the second largest one is Andreas in Japan, and the third largest one that grows up to about 1 meter lives in the US. Or the Chinese one gets like, you can hug it. Pretty amazing. So hellbenders, I mean, just by the name, you can see you can kind of guess what they look like. Yeah, so they are quite camouflaged in the water. There's a face of one. They are very hard to handle. They are very slippery. They don't bite or anything, but these guys have mouths that start like from here all the way till here, so they can really like open their mouth like that. So we found 7 in that stream system. Yeah, and that was a very strikingly colored one. Okay, so then we went into the Great Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. The Great Smoky Mountains is a mountain range that sit in North Carolina between, well, how do I say this? It's a mountain range, and then it's land, then it's the Atlantic Ocean. So it's the first mountain range that blocks all the cold air that comes in from the ocean, so that Great Smoky Mountains are called the Smoky Mountains because they're constantly misty. It's constantly wet as well. So it's like the capital for salamanders. The only place in the world where I'm taking a photo of a salamander and another one walks into my frame. Yeah, it can get that thick in there. So these are three-line salamanders. The Okosi salamander. This is the guy that walked into the frame. These guys are quite hard to photograph because they don't stop walking. They just keep walking. You gotta like freeze the frame. You can even pick it up and put it back. They just walk and walk and walk. This is a seal salamander. And that's a spring salamander that's still got its external gills. So salamanders are amphibians, relatives of our frogs, and then they do have a stage where they do have external gills before they mature, and then they recede their gills, just like tadpoles would recede their tails. There are some salamanders that still keep their external gills because they live a largely aquatic life. Okay, where did we go? And then we went to Florida. I never went to the fun Florida. This is where all the beaches and Miami and all that is. I was in the armpit. Yeah, it's called the armpit actually. Here's where you got like scores and scores of national forests that you can drive. This is where I stuck a GoPro in front of my car. Had a black bear actually run across the road, but it looked this big in the GoPro, so the video wasn't very good. Okay. Florida, we went looking for pygmy rattlesnakes. Pygmy rattlesnakes belong to a different genus as your rattlesnakes. They're cistruous. These guys are really, really small. They actually still have a rattle, that's it. Yeah, but they still buzz as well. Yeah, the act of rattlesnake rattling is called buzzing. So this is the dusky pygmy rattlesnake. There's another one. So I'm glad I got the camera instead of the ring because these are one of the two photos that won me something with the Snake Conservation Trust in the US. This is another dusky. Okay, this is I didn't put the scientific name because